Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals, because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
My fellow Americans, fellow liberty lovers across the globe, and all of you wonderful ecclesiastites. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you once again this morning, this Thursday morning, here from my bunkerized studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. It is a Thursday, March the 17th in the year of our Lord 2016, which means it's, well, here in New England, it's a big holiday. St. Patrick's Day is today. The wearing of the green. It is the day of the Irish, after all. The number that you can call this morning is 603-835-3224. Now, really, St. Patrick's Day, it's supposed to be, it's about a Catholic saint. You remember, folks? St. Patrick's Day. And I do believe it had something to do with snakes in the Emerald Isle, which is why there are no longer snakes on the Emerald Isle. It was a miracle that was done, and now now because of that, they got rid of all the snakes. They celebrate with lots of drink. Green beer around. You can go around here and get green beer today. It's been Americanized. It's another holiday like Cinco de Mayo that's been Americanized. Now, what do I mean by Americanized? Well, St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo are the two biggest alcohol days behind New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, in the United States. It's ridiculous. We've taken a couple of holidays and just decided, well, let's make them into drinking days. These are days that colleges love, college frat houses and all that kind of stuff. They love this stuff today, these kind of holidays. So, happy St. Patrick's Day if you're Irish. Even if you are not Irish, a lot of people claim to be Irish for a day. There are gay groups that are marching openly for the first time in New York City's St. Patrick's Day parade today. So I guess that's a congratulations for them. Now they get to, hey, if they want to let them and they want to march, great. They've been marching here in the Boston parade for a few years now, St. Patrick's Day parade. Boston is the home of the American Irish, by the way. It is the Irish capital outside of Dublin, Dublin, Ireland. It is Boston, Massachusetts, and of course, there's a large contingent, obviously, in New York City. So those are the big St. Patrick's Day parade that usually happen today. Now today is New England. It's kind of a dreary day, but it's March. It's always possibly that way in March. But It's about 50 degrees down there, so it's not like last year. It was just ridiculously cold. Today it is a lot, and there's a lot less snow this time around. This time around last year, we were buried in record amounts of snow. Wow, what a year difference a year makes. Unbelievable. I guess this year is really defining global warming. I guess. I mean, if you want to go that route, you could say, yeah, this is more like, because last year they were claiming global warming too, but we had records amounts of snow and cold, and this year we got a different kind of record almost. This is one of the least snowiest winter seasons that we've had. Well, we made up for it last year already, so we deserve a little bit of a break, don't you think? I think so. In any case, we got a bunch of stuff to go over with you today. And, of course, you can give a call, 603-835-3224. By the way, for those of you who keep tabs on the wealthiest people, it seems that somehow Larry Ellison of Oracle fame, one of Oracle's co-founder of Oracle, somehow made $1 billion, like literally overnight. And he is now in 6th place as one of the 6th wealthiest person in the world, overtaking Mark Zuckerberg. Now, folks, you have to understand, there's rich and there's rich, and this is all on paper. This is paper value. And what happens is a lot of people, especially on the left, they will look at this and say, look how much Larry Ellison is worth. Well, that's a net worth. Yeah, I can eat well, and I'm sorry to say that Larry Ellison is probably a terrible example, but just because he's worth a few $1 billion doesn't mean that's what he makes. But Larry Ellison happens to be one of the wealthiest annual salaried and cash people in the world. Because a lot of these guys, they may be worth billions and billions of dollars, but they're not making $1 billion a year in cash. They're not paying taxes on all that wealth. See, the problem, what a lot of you don't realize is that our income tax system started as a tax on wealth, and it was 1%. It wasn't income tax; it was a wealth tax, and it was 1% of people's wealth. And because wealth is really on paper, it doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. It doesn't mean you have the cash. It's kind of like a lot of. Remember back in the 80s and 90s, there was this huge brouhaha about family farms being lost to corporate farms. Why? Because the farmers, when land prices were shooting through the roof, these farmers had nothing to do with it. But all of a sudden, the value of the property was going through the roof. Now the property is worth $1 million or more. Well, these farmers were still making their same incomes every year. They weren't rich all of a sudden. Now that they were worth on paper $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, whatever it was, they were still making their $50,000 a year. That was it. But the problem is now you're talking about a wealth tax, which is the death tax. Now the value of their estate shoots through the roof. So they die, and their families inherit the land, and they get this huge tax bill from their state and the federal government saying, well, this is inheritance tax here. And now your land is worth, it's worth $5 million, so you owe us, $2 million in taxes or something like that. And these people are saying, what? We don't have $2.5 million. Well, you got to pay the tax. But we never, and the farmers were complaining about this, saying, we never said our land was worth this. You tax people and you bankers said it was worth this. Yeah, and it's worth it, so now you got to pay it. Well, the only way they could pay it was by how? Because they're only making $40,000 or $50,000 a year. How are they going to pay a $2.5 million tax bill? They have to sell the family farm. And it was happening left and right. Well, you see, when this first started off back in the early 1900s, it was a 1% tax on the wealthiest people, but it was based on their wealth, not their income. And there were a lot of families that the government caused a lot of wealthy families back in the day to go bankrupt. Because, again, it was wealth on paper, and they had to sell everything in order to pay the tax debt. See, wealth on paper really means nothing. As a matter of fact, it can actually be a detriment. Now, think about this. You buy a house for $150,000. Then all of a sudden, for some reason, beyond your wildest dreams, your property values start to shoot up through the roof. Now, over, say, a 5-year period, that $150,000 turns into $1 million, and you die, and now your family gets the property it's inherited. Well, now it is going, instead of being based on that $150,000, which you were paying on, now it's valued at $1 million. Well, your family's income hasn't risen just because your property value is now $1 million. It hasn't risen, has it? No. Well, that the government doesn't care. They want their money. And the only way you're going to get it in order to pay for it. And see, when it comes to estate taxes, here's the problem. The government's going to get it one way or the other. It's not like, it's not like the estate. Well, if somebody in your family dies and their estate now owes a huge amount of debt to a bank or something, the state covers it and that's it. Nobody else is usually 99.9% of the time. Nobody else outside of the estate is responsible for the estate's debt. That's it. But you see, when it comes to taxes, that's a different story. The government is going to get their money, and they're going to get their money before anybody else does. They will seize the property, put a lien on it, sell it, auction it off. And then if it still doesn't cover the debt, depending on how the estate is structured, they could come after you, the heirs. You're going to pay that debt, that tax debt, on $1 million. Even though you don't have the money, never did, never said your property was going to be worth $1 million, but because somebody else one day decided that it was $1 million, you're stuck with it. Now you're worth $1 million because you have $1 million property. Do you see where this net worth on paper is a bunch of BS? And the only people it really benefits is the governments? Now, sure, some people who are, look, don't get me wrong, Larry Ellison and Zuckerberg and people like that and Bill Gates, they're not suffering on the cash level. I know. They're not. But you have to understand, this is how all this works all the way down the economic ladder. And this has been set up by liberals in our government. And this is how you people get sucked into this economic battle of hating the rich. Well, somebody's worth $1 million. Oh, they're rich, tax them. Well, the problem is they're not rich. They're not making $1 million. They're probably, just an average everyday middle income person, 50 or 60 grand a year. But now all of a sudden, for whatever reason, maybe they invested right. Maybe they, it's been 30 years down the line, but they bought stock in Netflix or something, 20 years ago. When it was, pennies on the dollar, basically. And now it's worth all this money. Maybe they bought Amazon. There are a lot of people. You ever see those things where, if you would have invested, $10,000 in this company when it first came out, or first, you'd be worth like $7 million today. Well, there are people who've actually done stuff like that. Now, remember, that's the value of the stock. Their income hasn't gone up equivalent to what the value has. They just own the stock. And a lot of times these stocks are in IRAs or other types of retirement accounts or in mutual funds. And they're not getting money for this. But now all of a sudden their fund makes them worth $1 million or more. And they're still schlepping along at the same job that they've had for the past 30 years, making 50 or 60 grand. But all of a sudden they pass away. All that stuff becomes their estate, and their heirs look at this and say, oh my God, we just got the tax bill from the state and the federal government, and it's half of what the value of the estate is. And some people will say, well, $500,000, Rod, is still $500,000. Yeah, but they've got to sell it all. And you have to understand, when you dump something like that, and you don't get the supposed full value. It's always a fire sale. If Larry Ellison wanted to get back, or Bill Gates wanted to get his cash, all of his cash, out of, what is he worth, like $40 billion or something like that? He has to dump all that stock. Do you realize if he dumps that amount of stock onto the market, the price and value of the stock that he owns is going to go through the basement. And he's not going to get anywhere near the $40 billion that he's currently worth on paper. And that happens a lot. You know, that farmer? Yeah, their property's worth $1 million, but they have to sell it for $1 million, right? Well, unless it's a really highly sought-after piece of property, it could stay on the market for years. They don't have years to pay the debt. So now it becomes what they call a fire sale or an estate sale. And it usually goes for a lot less than its supposed value. It goes away for a bargain price, $600,000, $700,000. So by the time the family gets done paying all the commissions and all the taxes, that $1 million property leaves the family with, what, a couple $100,000 if they're lucky? That has been happening over and over and over again all across this. Why do you think estate planning is such huge business for accountants and lawyers in this country? It's simply because of the taxes. Nothing else. It's all because of taxes. Nothing else. You can say, well, the person who created that kind of paper wealth, they don't want the rest of the family to waste it. No, the reality, sure, maybe that might be part of the reason. But the main reason, and in many cases the only reason, to have some sort of estate plan is simply due to state and federal death taxes. That's all it's about. And you want to tell me that we don't pay enough in taxes and that the rich should pay more. Let me tell you something. The rich don't pay taxes. I don't know how many times I've told people this. They do not pay taxes. It's the poor, little, stupid people that pay taxes. And every time a politician like Bernie Sanders says he wants to raise taxes, the taxes that are going to get raised the most are the middle class and lower class. Even though he says that's who he's helping, he's not helping them. Well, yeah, he is helping. He's helping to put you in the poorhouse. We've got people on the phones already this morning. Let's take a couple of calls before we get going. 731, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got? Thank you. Yeah, you make a very good point. Do people realize that you're investing, most of the money that most people invest is after tax dollars. So you've already been taxed on that income. So then you invest it, and then you make some money on that tax income, and they want to tax you on what you've made off of that. So your profit they want to tax. So now you've been taxed before. You've been taxed before.
They're going to tax, yeah.
Yeah, and then they want to tax it. They want to tax the already taxed money after you die. So they want to tax it a second time.
And
basically.
It's like you said, the rich aren't paying. I mean, they have lawyers to figure out, why do you think Bill Gates, they're not up there giving their money away because they love us or they love the, people in third world countries. They're doing it because it shelters them from paying tax.
Right.
I mean, they have these foundations they create, and look at the Clinton Foundation. My goodness, let me form some of those, because it sounds like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
so
one of the biggest things that we've had recently is Zuckerberg is saying how much money he was going to form this,
it wasn't going to leave his child any? Yeah.
Yeah, when he had his baby daughter, and everybody was saying, "Oh, he's such a wonderful, giving person." I'm like, "Oh, come on, people. You don't realize the real ramifications. What this guy is doing is he just created one of the largest tax shelters on the planet. That's what it's about. He's worth billions of dollars, and now he's got somebody that he has to take care of or wants to take care of, that he's got to pass this on down to. It's all about the taxes.
They get on TV and they say it. They advertise it. Oh, I'm going to give all my money away. Well, that's a sign that says, oh, they're never going to come and check what I'm doing. That's pessimist, but it's the truth.
Well, it's the truth. If he really wanted to give it away, this is what you do. If you want to really give your money away, you form a foundation, or you give it to another. You give it to a foundation that you have no control over. That's it. You don't have any control, because the Clintons have control over their foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates have control over their foundation. Zuckerbergs are going to have full control over their foundation. All these rich people have full control while they're alive over their foundations.
And the government has over control of our foundation, our checking account. It's unbelievable.
That is
true.
But
I also wanted to say something about the snakes. They may have left there, but they're in Washington, so that's no problem. Just letting you know, don't worry. There's no shortage. They're all over on, in D.C. So
the snakes are still. They brought them all. Hey, there was the great exodus of Ireland. Now there are more Irish people of Irish descent in the United States than there are in Ireland, actually. So
my mother-in-law was Irish descent. Yeah, she was Irish. Mm-hmm.
So that means they must have brought all the snakes here to this country when they left.
Yeah, you know what? She probably could have had some in her basement, but she was a lovely, lovely lady. But what I wanted to say something about I had a couple of things I wanted to say. The brokered convention. What do you think about that?
The brokered, it's going
to happen. They're going to try it.
They're going to
try it. I do.
They're going to try something like that, and it looks like it's going to. Cruz is staying in the race. I got something here with about Ted Cruz thing. He needs about 85-87% of the remaining, all the remaining.
And it isn't going to happen. It isn't going to happen.
He's not. So, but they're now the wonderful news, our lamestream media. Has put the focus on Cruz as saying, well, Cruz is there now just to be pretty much a spoiler for Trump, because there really is no path for him to winning now.
Well, what did they say Kasich is? What's Kasich?
That's the point. That they were. I have this report says that Cruz keeps going. He needs about 87% of the remaining delegates, and puts his focus, now that Rubio is out of the race, on Kasich.
Mm-hmm.
So what these people
but they say it's okay for him, the one-man show.
I think here's the deal, is that the two remaining, this is Kasich's whole point. This is why he's still not getting out. I mean, he's got fewer delegates than Rubio had, and he's getting out, or he's not getting out. So he has no possible way. There is no mathematical way that Kasich can win the nomination via delegates. He just can't do it. Now, Cruz, it's a near impossibility for him, but he's got a slight chance of doing it.
I mean, the media may take Trump. They could take him completely out today. I'm just, I'm very pro-Trump, but I mean, I don't, from day to day, I just don't know what they're up to. I mean,
hold on through the break. We're coming up against a hard break, and I'm going to bring you back right after the break. Okay. This whole notion about this is, it's actually kind of funny and insidious at the same time, folks. You got to be here for this one. Pay attention. We'll be right back.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, franzblack.com. F-R-A-N-Z black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Welcome back. 603-835-3224 is the number to call if you wish to join me here live this Thursday morning here on the Rod Eccles Show. I am, of course, your lovable host, Elrod. I'm always your lovable host, Elrod. Am I a loving kind of guy? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. I am lovable, though. I'm not a big guy, actually. I'm not like a teddy bear. And I don't... Good grief. Where did that come from? Gotta love sounds just all of a sudden coming out of your computers and you don't know where they come from. But anyway, welcome back. This is what you get when you get live radio, live stuff, live TV, live radio, that kind of good stuff. One of the things that is kind of really interesting is the world is taking notice of Donald Trump even before Donald Trump is even possibly nominated for president, let alone elected. I mean, you got countries like China warning the American people not to elect Donald Trump. You've got countries like Saudi Arabia, maneuvering. So in case there is a President Trump, what are they going to do about it on day one that he's inaugurated? You got Putin out there trying to say, oh yeah, Trump's a wonderful man. He's a good guy. He's probably a successful businessman. Blah blah blah. But and the reality is, one of the interesting things is that some people are saying that there is a real possibility that there is going to be a President Trump. And I'm looking at this stuff late last night and this morning, and the possibility of a President Trump has got Putin rethinking his Middle East policy, because for whatever reason, I guess people think that Trump would not allow what's happening in the Middle East, what Obama is allowing, Syria. Now, I don't know if that's what Putin is actually thinking about Trump, because it's way too. I mean, I think for Putin is a very strong leader. Whether you like him or not, he's a very strong leader, and I don't think he's making this move this far out before Trump even gets a nomination. Now, if Trump got the nomination, you might see him making moves in order to save face, but it's way too early for him to be doing that. But you never know. You never know. But let's bring our caller back online here. Let's see if I can get her back here. 1, 2, 3. There you go. You are back. Hello.
Hey.
Still there?
Hey. Yeah, talking about noise, this country bumpkin Tennessee voice of mine, you'll have some noise there. Talking about Putin, I think his strategy with Syria, I do think that, I'm like you, I'm not sure, I think he's foresees, I think he's smarter than a lot of people that we are hanging out with, but that he does see that it's all probability, because, I think a Trump nomination is, I don't think they want to admit it, but it's almost inevitable. And I don't really see the brokered convention. I think they're going to try it. But like yesterday, I don't know if you heard this, Rod, but the Mr. Curley, who was smart enough to get on TV and say that the nomination wasn't really for the voters. It wasn't up to the voters. The RNC picked our nominations, and then we would vote. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely. I heard that, and I'm thinking, well, he's almost taking a page out of what I said already before that. Now, and again, you know what? I don't get on the air just to show how smart or brilliant I am, or how right I am, but it's awfully funny how, even though this is still a small program, a small show, but it is growing by leaps and bounds very fast. But it's how funny that a lot of this stuff happens, and they talk about this stuff after I talk about it. I talked about this whole thing about them being what they think, that this is not about the voter for the nomination process, that this is a club. You're part of the Republican Party club. And it really isn't about the voter when you bring it right down to its raw roots. it really isn't about the vote. The voter, it comes into play during the general election. But the nomination process, it's supposed to be about who somebody wants to put forth within that party or that group. In this case, the Republican group and the Democratic group. So they get to make their own rules. And if we don't like their rules, then we don't belong to their group. So, yeah, they get to make the rules.
But they signed a contract. They made, all of them stand up and say, I solemnly give my word that I will back whoever the nominee be, and
right.
But then and then they turn it around and playing all these funny games to prevent the front runner who would have already, if they'd have kept their tail out of it, he would have probably, I would say, be very close, if not there. But they're giving each other money to go, do, and putting ads out on every network, and Romney showing up in Ohio to back Kasich. Think about that. If they had not been doing all that, he would have already. I vow to say it's very likely he would have been there.
Yes, but you have to. Trump understands this. You have to understand this is a private. The GOP and the DNC, they're private clubs basically. That's really what they are. And every private club has always resisted, massive kind of change. And let's face it, Trump is a massive change. Now, this has happened before. I mean, this isn't really something new. I always say there's nothing new under the sun. People remember, well, people don't remember. This is why we're going through this again. But, in the 76, we had the same thing between Ford and Reagan. And the GOP elite decided that they were going to get involved. Now, here's the thing you got to watch out for. History repeating itself. The GOP itself thought they were going to get involved and make sure that they were going to get their person, not the person that that the rank and file members wanted. The voters or the rank and file. Right. And they decided, well, we're not going to let the rank and file decide what we, the officers of this club, want, and we're going to put in our guys. So they rigged it and got Ford as the nominee. Well, what happened? Ford lost handily, not by a landslide, but he still lost handily to Jimmy Carter. Now, thankfully, we only had 4 years of Carter. I mean, 4 years is bad enough.
Because we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, so but then that led to Reagan. So unfortunately, we're not in a position where we can ride out another 4 years of Hillary Clinton. I mean, we've had 8 years. We're going to have 8 years of Obama, and that's bad enough. We can't add another 4 years of Hillary. But some people are saying, well, if we could just ride it out, maybe Trump has done something and he can come back in 2020 and then he would definitely be elected president.
You know what?
4 years from now.
There's no way. And I don't think the environment, I don't think that the American people have the temperament for that right now. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on these leaders to do the right thing. And I can tell you yesterday, I called Curly's office yesterday. And the poor woman answering the phone, I said, I know you're just the messenger, but, this is what, people are hot over this, just the arrogance. And she said, oh, trust me, this was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, I've got a bottle of wine in the cooler because it's been a long day. And, I mean, and she said, I'm hearing from people all over the United States. And she said, I said, well, I'm sorry for your day being like that. But honestly, they have to understand something. People, I mean, just to stand up and, why are we even going through this process if they already know what they're going to do? Is it just a pony show to cost a lot of money and a lot of sweat and tears and hard work? I hope not. But that's basically what it feels like.
Yeah, and this is what they're going to they're going to go through this whole process all over again, repeating history. And unfortunately, that history means that that a Democrat gets elected. In this unfortunate case, it's Hillary Clinton. But it's good to know. Well,
I think they'd rather have her. I mean, tell me why. What is it? What's Trump? What would scare them so much? And it goes down to what we talked about the other day: power.
Yeah, well, you have to go back in history to fully understand it again. You have to now, and I know this is going to scare some people when I say this, but I'm a student of history because history is truth.
Yes.
But if you go back to the 1840s to 1860s, there was another party that went through the same thing that the Republicans are going through right now. That's called the Whig Party. W-H-I-G.
Oh, I saw that. I wasn't familiar with that because I did medicine, so I completely didn't read the history book because I was just memorizing physics and chemistry. But it's amazing. I just read that. I didn't know what wig was. I was like, oh, that's that thing you put on your head. But I have to read up on that because I saw many, things about that yesterday that popped up, and I was like, wig? It's W-H-I-G, actually. And yes. So I will go back, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt it.
The Whig Party was kind of, back in the day, the Whig Party did something that the founders warned the American people about having well-defined, hardline parties. The founders really did not believe in what we have today, the party system that we have today. They believed that, yes, groups of men would come together of like mind, and they'd have this loose group of a party. But there was no party ties, and which is why, Jefferson had the Democratic-Republican Party. He's basically the founder of it.
So the Whigs, they didn't have, was that their own party?
It was the Whig Party. It was the precursor. Okay. Well, it wasn't even the precursor to the Republican Party. See, again, history here. A brief history lesson. You had the Jeffersonians. You had everybody loves Washington, but then you had the Quincy Adams contingent, and you had the Jeffersonian contingent. Now, Adams and Jefferson really didn't like each other personally that much. Now, and again, folks, you have to understand these two men agreed on the macro, the overall vision of the United States. What they disagreed vehemently on was the micro, how best to achieve that. How do you go about achieving that freedom and keeping that freedom and all that kind of stuff in the Constitution? Well, Quincy Adams had his own ideas, and he was very strong and adamant about those ideas. Well, Jefferson was actually the author. He took everybody's ideas, but he actually put pen to paper and wrote the Constitution, so he knew more about it than Adams did, but Adams thought he was smarter than Jefferson. And it was just whole personal conflict type of thing. So they didn't really like each other very much. So out of those two, you got something called the Whig Party, and you got the Jeffersonian Party, which was the Democratic-Republican Party. Now, sometime after Jefferson died, in the whole issue of abolitionists and slavery came about, the Democratic-Republican Party split into the Democrat and the Republicans. Because the Republican contingent was against slavery. The Democratic contingent was for slavery.
I know. I do know that. That's interesting, isn't it?
So the Republican Party, actually part of the Democratic Republican Party, they sort of slid off. They were kind of like the Constitution Party here, the independent, the third party. They sort of slid off the radar.
Yeah.
And it became the Whig and the Democrats that were the two main competing parties. Because the Republicans, for whatever reason, they couldn't get on the map. And then all of a sudden, you had the real issue of slavery was really starting to come to a head. And you had people like Abraham Lincoln who were rising through the ranks. Well, the Whigs, again, thought much like the Republican elite, that they were going to make all the decisions, that they were going to be the power brokers of this still relatively new country, that they were going to be in control of everything. And what happened is that Lincoln, by the time Lincoln was elected, the split within the Whig Party had become so massive that if Lincoln won, it was going to be the end of the Whig Party and the beginning of the Republican Party. Well, that's exactly what happened. The Whig Party, shortly after Lincoln's election, went away. They were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the rise of the Republican Party. Well, this is what they're doing now.
Well, maybe that's what we've got here.
I don't know what we're going to call it, but you're going to see if Donald Trump does not get if they steal the nomination from Donald Trump. No, I mean by stealing it, they take it to a convention, a contested convention, and somebody who isn't even on the ticket right now still running. So if it isn't like Cruz or Kasich gets the nomination, there are already people saying, even Sean Hannity says, we're done, we're walking out, we're no more, we're not part of the. That's the end of the Republican Party. But these guys don't see that because they're repeating history. They don't see it. The writing was on the wall for the Whigs too, that if they did what they did and didn't embrace Lincoln and the people that were supporting Lincoln, that they were going to be old news. They didn't buy into that, and they lost big time. And so this is the same thing that's happening all over again. You know, history has a funny way of repeating itself when people don't learn about history. Yeah. And this is the chance for the Republican leadership. I know they're going to have to give up some power, but this is their chance to step up and say, okay, this is really the direction that the country is going to go. And we've got to find a way how to work with it, because if we work against it, we're going to be, the old Whig Party.
Yeah, because I guarantee you that people are not going to. I could just tell by the response yesterday. People are they're not going to talk. They're not going to take a Bush. They're not going to take a Kasich. They don't want Ryan, and they aren't going to have Romney. You might as well put a stick of dynamite out there, because they're not going to touch it. And then you have to think the leaders, what they don't understand is they can say, well, we're uncommitted, a delegate. We don't have to do, we don't have to vote the first round. We can vote. Well, let me tell you, at the end of the day, you're voted in by the American people. These leaders are voted in by us, and they got to remember that. So when some of them are sitting there, they're going to have to be thinking in the back of their mind, ooh, this is going to be, this could be the end of me. So I think a lot of them, may have to back down a little bit and not talk so big, hoping that the media continues to just, take Trump out, by all their, I call it my ambush. I tell them, I say, you just, they're mad about them having the debate. I said, oh yeah, because the insider media ambush, questions and answers, reviewed and prepped, ready to go, and your fans are going to cheer you. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to go through that again.
Well, yeah,
but
they all.
That's what it is.
This is it's a once in a lifetime happening. This is something that we have not. That a lot of people have not seen in their lifetime, because the last time something close to this happened was in 75, 76. And it was, it came down between Reagan and Ford, and we know how that turned out. But again, right. 4 years later,
I think you're young. You're young, and you know what? I'm sure your audience is probably a lot. Yeah, I'm older than dirt, but you have your audience that are young. And that's a good thing because you know what? History's not taught. It wasn't taught for me. I just didn't care about it. So I read what I had to read and, looked on the paper beside me, probably on somebody else's. But honestly, the young people need to hear these things, because it does help you understand better what's going on. And maybe not take it so personal. Like, I've just been really angry. And just you saying, talking about the Whigs, it helps explain a little bit of it and maybe take a little bit of the anxiety out, as opposed to where you said this may scare some people. Well, you know what? If we know they survived, we can survive maybe. your point being. Well,
the country did survive back then, but it was a different set of circumstances. Different, and then the country survived the Republican internal battle back in the 70s between the Ford faction and the Reagan faction. We survived that, but unfortunately, times are different.
I know.
Yeah. Everything else is not the same. Sure, the internal strife, internal battles of the party might be similar. Everything else outside the party is not the same. It's all different, and it's a lot more dire.
It is, and it's there. There's just the sense, the way it looks, and I'm not inside there. I'm only like outside looking in and getting a peek of this and a peek of that through the window, but, it just appears that they're all connected. It's like a maze. You can take this one, you take Kasich, and they said, oh, Soros gave him $200,000, $400,000, whatever amount, it doesn't matter. Well, then, big red flag goes up. And then you got Ted Cruz. Oh, well, yeah, he's backed by the bank, and then you go back to his wife. Oh, well, she actually was in charge of, coming up with some of these really scary things, world, global, whatever. So, but, and you keep tagging them back. And at the end, I keep coming and, Donald Trump, he gave money to all of them because he was running a business. He was trying to run a business, and that just goes to show you. And so, some people can look at that and say, oh, well, Donald Trump, he gave to Harry Reid, he gave to Nancy Pelosi, and he gave, what the difference is? He told us ahead of time. There was no, he said, I did business. I've been friends with these people. But the difference was he wasn't inside their gym, per se. He wasn't working. He wasn't, being paid by the government. So that's my difference. And so when I do my, thinking, I keep coming back to that one thing is he is the outsider. Now, does he know what he's doing? I don't know. But I know he's smart enough to figure out. And you know what? I wouldn't care if they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they don't. Maybe we have too many that know what they're doing. Maybe we need somebody that isn't, I'm going to get more regulations. I'm going to get this justice elected because he is, he's going to vote for our Second Amendment rights to be taken away. No.
Yeah, well, that is, it's something that needs to be taken into account. I think a lot of people are, and I think a lot of people see, just the regular rank and file people out there, and people have to understand that right now this is in many states, not all states, in many states, you have to, they're closed. They're a closed caucus or closed a primary, meaning you have to be a registered Democrat in order to vote in the Democratic primary caucus, and you have to be a registered Republican in order to do the same thing on the Republican side. Some states, they're not just a few, but some states allow an open primary where anybody can come in and vote, but most of the states are closed. And so you're not taking into consideration all the people who are not able to yet vote for Trump, because either they're independent or they are Democrats. And we can say this now about Trump simply because we've already seen the numbers from some of the states where especially in closed primary states, where we see people dumping their Democratic card. We're looking at in I think the last number I saw was well over 100,000 Democrats have dumped. Dumped the Democratic ticket.
200,000 yesterday.
Was it up to two? Yeah, I mean, it's just in various states, in totaling various, not one state, folks. I know some people are going to say one state. No, but that's a big number. That's huge.
And is that not what the Republicans have been saying all along? We've got to expand our, acceptance, and we've got to broaden our horizons. Well, I believe that's what's going on. But what do they really want?
They just like I said, the Republican elitists, the inside the beltwayers, the true GOPers, as it were, they like big government too. They just want to be the ones in charge of it. They don't want smaller government.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do believe. I mean, I had my brother-in-law. I was originally born and raised in St. Louis. Well, until I was like 13. And my brother-in-law called and he said, well, I voted. He said, I just voted. I had to hold my breath. I was like, oh, who'd you vote? He said, Trump. Never had voted Republican in his life. I'm talking railroad guy, retired. I mean, I was so happy he thought I won the lottery.
Well, I hate to it's that time of the hour again. Okay, I have to cut you off there.
Okay,
We're
Rod,
heading to a break.
I appreciate
it. Thank you so much for your call.
Oh, you bet. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we are heading towards another profit center break. Well, I'm not like Rush yet, so it's not like I have this huge profit, but maybe someday we'll get there. Yes? I don't know. Someday, maybe. Till then, we'll be right back.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared featured in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge. Welcome back. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized studio somewhere within the great grand state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is live free or die. It is not big government or bust. Yes, and I did check again this morning, and it has not changed, as I have noticed. They may be out there plotting to try to change it, but still, as of this morning, it has not changed. The call-in number is 603-835-3224. Again, that's 603-835-3224. Here on this Thursday morning, March the 17th in the year of our Lord 2016, which means it's St. Patty's Day. It's time for the wearing of the green. And all of that wonderful stuff that comes along with St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's a little bit Irish today. So, I know a lot of people when they get out of work, they're going to go and head to their local pub. They're going to the pub to get themselves a green beer. By the way, did you know the Irish don't, and the Brits, I guess, they don't drink cold beer. It's warm. I can't imagine drinking Guinness warm, but they do. Oh, well, it's not actually warm; it's room temperature. They don't put it on ice. That's an American thing. I don't even know when that really started, because beer in this country we didn't have refrigeration. Remember? There was no such thing as refrigeration, 100, 150 years ago. The Old West, there was no refrigeration. Speaking of history, when you go and you look at the history of how things came about, especially in this country, not just the world, but in this country, we take a lot of things for granted. It's, simply because of modern conveniences, like trucks and refrigeration. They didn't have trucks and refrigeration back in the so-called Old West. So a lot of that stuff, horse and buggy and railroad. Railroad was the truck of the day, but you still had to get your product to the train station and load it onto the train, and then once it got to the place that it was going, the train got there, then it had to be unloaded, and they did all this trucking, by the way, by horse and cart.
Horses pulled all that stuff, which is why we say horsepower as far as trying to there are little kids ask, why do they say horsepower? Because little kids, they don't know, they don't understand. But there's a lot of adults that don't understand how we came to call a unit of mobile power horsepower, because it was something that people could understand. 2 horsepower. 2 horsepower was double the power of 1. You get on the back of a horse, and your horse can only pull or carry so much. But if you add another horse, well, now you can put on a cart. Make the cart a little bit bigger, and they can carry more weight. And then you look at things like the Budweiser and the Clydesdales. What are they? What is it? Is it 6 or 8 that are hitched? Well, those 8 giant horses. Obviously, Clydesdale is more powerful than say an Arabian, but you get 8 of those monsters together, and they can pull a few tons of cargo, but with relative ease. So that's where the term horsepower came from. Now, I don't know what I gotta admit, I don't know what horse they're talking about when they say horsepower, because obviously different size and different breeds of horses have different strength abilities, obviously. So I don't know I mean, you had the big draft horses. The Amish still use draft horses. They're big horses too, but they're powerful. Clydesdales, they're big and powerful. They're beautiful animals, but powerful. Gentle giants too. Something that big can be so gentle. They don't have a mean temperament. And let's face it, if they got pissed off, you get a draft horse or a Clydesdale or any of those large breed horses that get ticked off, it's going to be a little bit hairy for a human to try to calm them back down. It's like an elephant. I'm going to say that if you piss off one of those draft style horses, like an elephant, you just get out of the way and let them run it out of their system. Because you're not going to get in their way and calm them down and stop them, let me tell you. But I don't know what horse they decided to pick to come out with horsepower. It's a specific unit of measurement, I know that, but I don't know what they decided, what that unit of measurement, how they came about deciding that particular unit of measurement, if it was based on a particular horse or not. That much I don't know. So somebody could look that up if they want. And let us all know, fill us in on that particular part of the history lesson, how they came up with the unit of... we know why they call it that, but how did they come up with that particular unit of measurement of horsepower? Speaking of horsepower, it seems like Donald Trump has got a lot of horsepower all across the globe. And a lot of places are reacting to the possibility of a Trump presidency. Now, as I sit here, and I think there are a number of different things. Now, I know I have to be careful about it, but look, this is the guy that's in the news, okay? I know some people are saying, well, Rod's is in the tank for Trump. No, he's in the news right now. And frankly, I don't see China issuing warnings to the American people about electing Ted Cruz as president. They're doing that with Trump. They are. I don't see, Vladimir Putin, acknowledging on record talking about Ted Cruz, but he's talking about Donald Trump. That's just the way it is. It's not just the American media. As a matter of fact, you go down under to the land down under. Here we have the dailytelegraph.com.au. So that for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda, that would stand for Australia, mate. U.S. election. Headline, U.S. election. President Donald Trump would be a disaster for Australia, analysts warn. Now, you're looking at this thinking, what? Why would Australia think that it would be a disaster for the Aussies? If an American Donald, maybe they think they'd get an Aussie version of Trump. Well, that would be Rupert Murdoch, by the way. Now, Rupert Murdoch is a naturalized American citizen, but he's an Aussie. He's Australian. He was born and raised and comes from Australia. Got his start in business in Australia and New Zealand. So he's an Aussie. I don't know. Maybe could he go? Well, he's in his 80s now, so maybe he's too old. But I suppose I don't think he renounced his Australian citizenship when he became a U.S. Do you have to? You don't have to. Do you have to do that? Yeah, you have to renounce your previous. I think. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe they take him back if he decided to go back. But they're writing here, billionaire, businessman, and reality TV star. I love how they always throw that in. Reality TV star. Donald Trump took another step towards the White House yesterday, speaking of Tuesday, as analysts warned a Trump presidency would be a disaster for Australian-U.S. relations. Now, last time I checked, Australia pretty much has the same stance on immigration as Trump does. No illegals. Australians have gotten pretty hard line on illegal immigration. As a matter of fact, the Australian Coast Guard, if they catch an illegal immigrant boat approaching, they don't even, at this particular juncture, in most cases, unless there's medical emergency, they don't even afford the people on the boat, any type of assistance or aid. They just turn the boat around and say, "Go back where you came from." You don't get close. No, they don't take these people on their Coast Guard cutters or what have you. They turn them around, and I think they do it by way of, look, you don't turn it around, we're going to sink the boat. This is an invasion. The Australians are looking at it as an invasion to their country. Say what you want, but that's the way that they're doing it right now. You don't hear a lot about it here because there would be no condemnation from the vast majority of Americans here for what the Australians are doing, which is why you do not hear about it. The vast number of Americans would probably applaud and want the U.S. Coast Guard to do the same thing and the U.S. Border Patrol to do the same thing. But the Australian National University political analyst, Dr. Norman Abjornsen, Abjorensen, so I'm saying it's Abjornsen, not Abjorensen, but because J is a Y, said that even the most impartial observer would think Donald Trump as president is a little bit scary. I'm still trying to figure out why everybody thinks that Donald Trump is so scary. They said the same thing about, I hate comparing him to him, but they said exactly the same thing about Ronald Reagan. Go back and look at, dig up all the stuff that the lamestream media and the world really said about Reagan. They were saying the exact, a Reagan presidency would be scary, man. You can't let that kind of man have his finger on the nuclear button. The Democrats were saying that about Reagan. He was going to start World War III. And it was going to be a nuclear war, and it was going to be all his fault. Look at this. Go back and read all the stuff all the anti-Reagan stuff that was being said back in 79 and 80 and 81. You can't let this guy be president. There were even, the news didn't travel as fast back then as it does today because there was no internet. But there were even, some world leaders were saying it was a bad idea to have Reagan as president. One reason is because, those who were dictators and want to be dictators knew that Reagan wouldn't stand for that kind of stuff. And I think Donald Trump has similar qualities when it comes to that type of thing, in that he would not stand for it. But you got people who want to be appeasers, who want to try to be peaceniks, who want to bring the U.S. down a notch. They realize that Donald Trump wouldn't stand for that kind of stuff, and that he would rebuild the military, make us a powerhouse again, to be feared by our enemies and respected by our friends. Because right now the U.S. is not feared nor respected. So So they're saying the same thing about Donald Trump. Now, Mr. Trump scores victories in 3 states yesterday. Well, obviously, again, that's Tuesday, not yesterday, Wednesday. Including the big prize of Florida. Now, Dr. Aberyorenson said Mr. Trump might look a lot different if he won the keys to the White House. It's too early to say what he would be like as president because in order to get the nomination, you have to take an extreme position. He's been trying to rouse the party faithful, and once he has a nomination, he would be likely to swing back to a more moderate position. Really? I guess these guys really don't understand American politics. Now he goes on to say, I think we would be seeing a more moderate and chastised Donald Trump in the White House if he got there. So why would that be a disaster for Australia if he becomes this more moderate person than everybody thinks? Now, however, another person, the Lowy Institute, Lowy, never heard of it, but it's Australian, Executive Director Michael Fullilove. Yes, I'm not making it full of love. Fullilove. Fullilove. Well, Fullilove obviously isn't full of love for the Donald. And he says that the words President Trump should give Australians pause. Mr. Trump reflects few of the values that have made us America great. I don't know what those values are. But what are these values that everybody says that Donald Trump is not espousing? Now, are these traditional values or are these recent to the fore liberal Democrat socialist values? I don't know what the values are that they keep talking. Donald Trump doesn't represent the values of America. Really, what values are they talking about here? Because the values of America aren't overtaxation. The values of America aren't based on socialism. It isn't free health care. It isn't universal health care. It isn't overly high taxes. It isn't open borders. What values exactly are they talking about? It isn't about isolationism and it isn't about projecting American power. Hell, remember Thomas Jefferson used the U.S. Marines to take out the Moors in the Barbary Coast. The Barbary Coast Wars? Now, I know a lot of people, I keep saying that. I've actually had some people say, whoa, what the hell are the Barbaries? Well, it's a part of American history. Well, America never went to war with another country or nation or people. Never. Well, outside of World War I and World War II. Never. We never sent our boys over there. No. Evidently, you don't know a lot of American history. And this is, it's typical. Especially if you're under the age of 30 or 35, you don't know about the prowess of President Teddy Roosevelt when he was in the Army. You don't know about, the Puerto Rican invasion, the Cuban invasion. You don't know about the Barbary Wars, Barbary Coast, and a whole bunch of other stuff that helped form this nation. Either by the U.S. government themselves or by agents thereof, such as the Republic of Texas and their war with Mexico. Remember the Alamo? Do you think that the Texans just stood on their own, or do you think maybe they got a little bit of help and assistance from the United States government? Well, if you go back and look at history, they got a little bit of help. So what is this whole notion about the U.S. never going to war, except World War I and World War II? This in the 20th century was the only time that we actually went over there. But this is what everybody's talking about, and this is the same thing that the stupid Aussies are. Well, not all Aussies, just these idiots that they're interviewing here. Not all Aussies are stupid, after all. But you have to look at this in context and look at the rest of the planet. And you have to ask, well, who else is like Donald Trump? If Donald Trump is president, will Donald Trump have his Maggie Thatcher? Somewhere. I don't, you want to talk about a team. I mean, even though we were under nuclear threat, I'd say that the world was a hell of a lot safer back when Ronald Reagan was president and Margaret Thatcher was prime minister than we are today. There were two leaders that led the Western world, and the Western world didn't take crap from anyone. They brought down the Soviet wall. They kept China in check. And little dictators all over the planet were quaking in their boots, hoping that they would, that the United States would not notice them. And those that did get noticed, like Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, notice how Libya thought, Gaddafi thought he was all that, and Reagan said, "You're not all that." Almost got him, and he went silent for like 20 or 25 years. He's like, "Whoop! Well, I guess this guy is pretty serious. We're gonna, hey, we're gonna go over here and be quiet now. We're sorry. And then we get this weak mamby-pamby, tall, skinny, underweight idiot. And there's nothing wrong with being tall and skinny because that was Abraham Lincoln. You know what? They talk about Abraham Lincoln as possibly suffering from a condition called Marfan syndrome. And Marfan syndrome people, they tend to have elongated limbs. They tend to be tall and skinny. They have very long, limbs and extremities. They have bigger feet and longer hands, not bigger hands, but long fingers. And you can kind of see that in Obama. And they have, and sometimes people in Marfans they have larger facial features, like they have larger than normal noses or they have larger than normal mouths. And frankly, if you look at Obama, he doesn't have a big nose, but he's got kind of a large mouth, and he's got long, gangly extremities. He's got long limbs, long legs, and long arms. And his fingers, he's got long fingers. He could be a Marfan syndrome. And it's not fatal, and it's not necessarily a disease. It's kind of like this birth defect that just, I guess, goes away. Kind of like dimples. Dimples are birth defects. You know that? They really are. But, so, and he's tall, and he's lanky, and he's skinny, and all that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's what they classify this as some sort of birth defect syndrome that causes these people to grow this way. So that could be Obama. Now, again, nothing does not affect their mental capacity or ability, obviously. But people have asked that. Well, if Abraham Lincoln had this, could it possibly be that similar features in Obama? Does he have the same thing? And if you look at his eldest, who's his Sasha? Yeah, Malia's the younger one. Sasha looks like she could be emulating. I mean, she looks like her mother, basically. She looks like, if anybody doubts that girl is not biologically Michelle Obama's, just look at him. Sasha looks exactly like Michelle Obama. I'm sorry, poor girl, but she does. Well, Michelle is not exactly an ugly woman. I know people call her, say she's ugly. I don't think she's ugly. But she's got the same type of physical features as her father. She's tall for her age, for a girl. She's very, got long, thin, gangly arms and fingers and certain facial features that would resemble somebody of having a form of Marfan syndrome. Again, nothing wrong with the girl. I'm not picking on her at all. Just stating a fact. If anything, I'm one of the people that say, that in spite of her parents, in spite of her family, you don't mess with the kids. You leave the kids alone. They have, it's kind of like the same thing with Amy Carter and the Bush twins. You leave the kids alone because of what their parents did. You don't go and attack the kids. They have nothing to do with this. It's not the kids' fault. They can't control it. So you leave the kids alone. And I dump. You can disagree as much as you want with Michelle and Barack, but you leave Sasha and Malia alone. They have nothing to do with this. They're just kids. They have no power whatsoever. Anyway, when we get back, I'll fill you in and finish the rest of what's going on down under against Donald Trump. It's kind of funny, actually, when you think about it. We'll be right back. You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, franzblack.com. Franz black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washing washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Bring the rain.
603-835-3224 is the number to call if you wish to join me here live here on the Rod Eccles Show. Now, back to this Aussie issue. Mr. Trump, so says Lowy Institute Executive Director Dr. Michael Phililove. He says, Mr. Trump reflects few of the values that have made America great, and judging from his speeches, he fails to see the advantages that flow to his country from being at the center of the global liberal order. Really, what advantages do we have by being a part of the global liberal order? This is the first time I've heard of a global liberal order and that the United States is the center of it. And somehow we're benefiting from it. Oh yeah, we're benefiting it from it by having, a lot of our manufacturing jobs now, shipped offshore, Mexico, China, Thailand, Bangladesh, even. Bangladesh. Look at some of your clothing. Especially if some of your mid-level stuff, like not necessarily Banana Republic, but stuff. Think of Banana Republic level clothing. What's JCPenney's brand? St. John's Bay. That mid-level of not high-end, not low-end, but that mid-level stuff. Take a look at where some of that stuff is made. I have looked at clothing labels and it says manufactured in Bangladesh. Who knew that they were making U.S. clothes in Bangladesh? But they are. So I guess that's, global. Everybody else is benefiting from the global liberal order, but the United States. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. We don't benefit much. Well, you're getting lower priced goods, right? Yeah, but nobody has a job, so nobody can buy it anyway. Why do you think the economy is so anemic? Nobody has any money, so nobody can buy anything. So it doesn't matter how little it costs. It doesn't matter, what matters is that there are no jobs here. And but he's talking about this global liberal order. Still don't know what that is, but hey. But there is something else that he did say that caught my attention. Now, he said a Trump victory would also undermine the ANZUS security military alliance. Now, I guarantee you, 95% of you out there have never heard of that. Never, ever, ever have you heard of the ANZUS military security alliance. And so exactly what would that be? Well, it is spelled ANZUS. ANZUS. And what that is it is the Australia-New Zealand-United States Security Treaty, the ANZUS Treaty. And it was formed right after World War II, back in the late 40s and early 50s. In fact, it was ratified back in 1951. And it is an agreement which binds Australia and New Zealand together, and separately Australia and the United States together to cooperate on military matters in the Pacific Ocean region, their region. So anything that goes on, militarily speaking, that's a threat to Australia or New Zealand down there, well, the United States is part of the Pacific. We have a West Coast, we have Hawaii, we have quite a few possessions out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We have a lot of places that that you don't need a passport to get to. You know that? We got the U.S. Virgin Islands. Tahiti. Is it Tahiti? Yeah, Tahiti. Tahiti is a U.S. but you don't need a passport to go. You got it. Marianas, the Mariana Islands. Trump actually won the primary out there in the Marianas Islands. I think he gets 6 or 7 delegates, but hey, it adds up. You don't need a passport to travel out there. You're going to want a passport anyway if you're going to travel at such places, because if you ever get diverted and have to land someplace else, it's most likely not going to be in a U.S. territory. There was at one point I think you did not need a passport to go to the Philippines because it was a U.S. possession. But then we gave them their independence. And that changed the whole thing. And there was once a time you didn't need a passport to go to Canada either, but now you do. But in any case, there is this ASUS treaty out there. This is what this guy is referring to. Or ANZUS, excuse me. And this is what he's referring to. And for some reason, he seems to believe that Trump would be a disaster for the ANZUS treaty. Well, here's the problem with that. The ANZUS treaty is almost dead anyway. Now, it's not dead between Australia and the U.S. And I don't see anything that Trump has said that would put a strain on that military relationship and that political relationship. But you have to understand that New Zealand has already pretty much dumped the treaty when they became a nuclear-free zone nation. Well, if you're a nuclear-free zone, that means, basically if we're gonna honor the sovereignty of the nation of New Zealand, you can't have many U.S. and Australian warships within the New Zealand waters. Why? Well, because either they have nuclear warheads on board, and or they are powered by nuclear power. Hello? we can't send our subs over there. No, they're nuclear subs that are carrying nuclear weapons. Our aircraft carrier groups, half the ships are nuclear powered and they have nuclear weapons on them. So what are we forget an aircraft carrier. You're not going to if you're going to honor New Zealand's anti-nuclear zone around their country and within their borders and waters, well, then, an aircraft carrier, every single one of our active aircraft carriers are nuclear powered, and they all have nuclear weapons on board. We'd have to, I don't know, we couldn't send in, even if we could take all the nuclear weapons off, it would still violate their non-nuclear proliferation whatever, because of the huge, massive ships, watercraft are powered. I don't think New Zealand doesn't have a nuclear plant, does it? I don't think it does. Well, it's a nuclear-free zone. They don't like nuclear. It's one thing I've always said. Well, it's okay if New Zealand wants to go the way of Switzerland, and if New Zealand wants to be the Switzerland of the Pacific, that's fine. They can do that. I'm not going to chastise New Zealand for taking that stance, but at the same time, you got to understand. Hell, even Switzerland has an army. Just saying. They may be neutral and they don't like to take sides and that kind of stuff. They don't want to take a stand for or against anything, but even Switzerland has an army. So if you have an army, how neutral are you actually? But that's what it's all about. And for some reason, he seems to think, so if anything militarily happens to any of the three, well, within that region, obviously we don't expect Australia to come to the rescue of the United States here. But, that's basically what the treaty's for, is to lend aid and assistance. And it's sort of taken, in the last a couple of decades, it's taken the twist of any world. There are Australian troops in the Middle East, due mainly to the relationship between the Aussies and the U.S., via the ANZUS Treaty. So there were Australian troops in the Middle East. And what this Yahoo is saying, this Philolove, who doesn't seem to have, he's not full of love for Donald Trump, seems to think that somehow Trump is going to endanger and crush and throw away that treaty. I don't know where Donald has said any of that stuff. I don't know where people are reading into Trump like you would not believe. Hold on. Could not sneeze on air, so I had to excuse me there. But he seems to think that Trump is going to do away with this sort of thing. I don't know where they get. Well, you know, they've come to realize that Trump is that if Trump or somebody like Trump were elected president, then the free ride, you know, of the United States would be over. It would be worse than Bush. It would be like Reagan all over again. You know, you have to understand, the world didn't necessarily. There were a few. Don't get me wrong. There were a few countries that loved Reagan outside the U.S. But a lot of the world didn't particularly like Reagan. Why? Because Reagan was U.S. first. Just as Margaret Thatcher was Britain first, Great Britain first. And since then, we've had presidents that have thought, well, you know, maybe we got to have these, you know, these 1,000 points of lights, this New World Order, and that kind of crap. It wasn't U.S. first. And then we got George W. Bush, and we got attacked with 9/11, and then it started to switch back a little bit to United States first. Well, notice how a lot of the countries didn't like that idea. You know, they all said, oh, we're so sorry, we mourn for the United States for the 9/11 attacks and blah, blah, blah. And then George Bush decided to take action. Whether or not you agree with that action is irrelevant at this point. George Bush decided to take action and put the United States first. Well, half the world didn't like that. And I'm not talking about the ones that we were attacking. Half the world didn't like the fact that George Bush was putting the U.S. first. And then we elected this wonderful world first kind of guy, Obama, and supposedly everybody fell in love with Barack Obama. They made him a world rock star. You know, I think he's still liked more overseas than he is in the United States. But, you know, hey, it's not U.S. first anymore. And the rest of the entire world gets to ride on our backs. They get to take advantage like they've never had before. And somebody like Donald Trump comes along, and basically what that is saying is that ride is going to be over come January 21st, 2017. That's what a lot of these people do not like. Even these people who claim to be our allies, they're taking advantage, and they're being allowed to take advantage of the generosity of the United States. And they know that if you get somebody like Donald Trump, and maybe to a lesser degree they believe Ted Cruz, that ride would be over. It would be the United States first again, and they wouldn't get to take the ride. That's what it's about, folks. That's why you see look, China knows that they're not going to be able to get away with all the crap that they've been getting away with lately. If you had somebody like a Trump or a Reagan who's president, look, China remembers what happens to the Soviet Union. Hello, people. You've got Donald Trump trying to sound like Ronald Reagan, and a lot of people think that in certain ways he does sound like Ronald Reagan. And you've got people over in China who understand and realize, see, they know history and they haven't forgotten it. And they know exactly what Ronald Reagan did to the Soviet Union. And some of you are saying, the what? Exactly. The Soviet Union, the USSR, does not exist in reality anymore. Or sure, it still exists in the hearts and minds of some people like Vladimir Putin. But it doesn't exist in reality. And the Chi-Coms, they are fully aware and understand this. And they understand that if somebody like a Reagan, who could be Trump, could be, Cruz, doesn't matter, somebody like a Reagan gets elected and put in power in the United States where it's U.S. first, China understands they're in trouble. So, of course, they're not going to like a Donald Trump. The free ride of all the free goodies from a lot of our so-called allies would be over. So you got some people who are taking advantage and who benefit from this, even in Australia, who understand, well, geez, maybe we're going to get the spigot cut off down here. It would be over. So when you listen and you see these people talk about how this is, this is not good. No, it's not good for the rest of the world that's taking advantage of the United States, but it's very good for the U.S. Why do you think, who was it that said the world would be they just recently said, and I heard this and I just can't remember who said it. The world would be very comfortable with a President Hillary Clinton. Well, of course they would. Because it would continue the ride of the look. Yeah, this is not a merry-go-round. It can't continue forever. Let me put it. Speaking of horsepower here, merry-go-round. You have toy horses. Yes, horses, and they go around perpetually in a circle. So theoretically, they don't get anywhere, but you can keep riding forever and ever. And that's exactly what the rest of the world is doing to the United States right now. It's like a merry-go-round. They think it's a merry-go-round. And they can just ride this United States pony forever and ever. The reality is that the pony of the United States is more like the U.S. Postal Service when it got its start as the Pony Express. I know some people are saying, what? The Pony Express. There were horse stations dotted all over this country because they rode those horses. They rode them hard, they rode them fast. Well, after a certain distance, the horse lost steam, lost power, slowed down, and if you kept pushing a horse, you were going to kill it. So what did they do? Yeah, you could literally run a horse to death. So what did they do? They put these horse stations, the Pony Express stations, so the riders got fresh horses every so often. Every so few miles. I don't remember the number of miles in between stations, but every few miles. They got a fresh horse because they couldn't ride that horse forever. Because if they kept riding it, they were going to kill it and they would get nowhere. Well, this is the U.S. pony. The rest of the world thinks that we're a merry-go-round. They can just keep riding and riding. But the reality is we're a Pony Express pony, and we've been running hard and fast for mile after mile after mile, for year after year after year. And at some point, those people who are riding the U.S. are going to kill the U.S. And you have people like Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, who understand this and are saying, well, no, we're going to put a stop to this. There were other candidates who have since dropped out who understood this. Marco Rubio, to a certain degree, understood this. Dr. Carson understood this. Carly Fiorina understood this. There are a couple of others that didn't get any real traction. Former Virginia governor, and now I can't even remember his name, he understood this. I actually spoke to that guy a couple of times. Wonderful man, by the way. And I'm sorry I cannot remember Governor Jim. I'm terrible remembering names. I admit that. I'm terrible. But anyway, he was a awesome guy. Reaganite through and through. And, he was a serious guy. He was governor of Virginia during the 9/11 attacks. He understood. He understood the importance of having a strong United States, period. Gilmore. Thank you. Jim Gilmore. I knew I'd remember it. Governor Gilmore. Awesome man, by the way. If you ever, meet him or... I hope he runs again at some point. He's getting up there. in age, I suppose. And, he was governor back in the early 2000s, but he could be around for, he might actually make, well, I don't think he'd ever actually be Donald Trump's VP, but he'd make an awesome VP. He really would. If for whatever reason the nomination goes to Ted Cruz, I think Ted Cruz should pick, would be very well served by having Jim Gilmore as his Veep. Awesome man. And I'm very proud and happy to have met him and had the opportunity to speak to him twice. Awesome guy. I was very impressed with him. Because I didn't know a lot about him, because obviously he was the governor of Virginia, not New England. So I didn't have cause to really get to know the guy beforehand. I didn't live in Virginia. I didn't live near Virginia. But the two times I got to speak with him, I'm like, now here's a guy who's a lot like Reagan, who loves his country. No question about it. And I don't think we've heard the last of Governor Gilmore, by the way. I really don't. Yeah, maybe he'll go into retirement, enjoys the retirement, but he doesn't seem like the retirement kind of guy. He just doesn't. Anyway, but people like him, he understands that you cannot ride the U.S. pony forever. That you're going to kill it. And maybe that's what's, this New World Order stuff, you know what they say? Follow the money. Follow the money trail. Who stands to make a boatload of money if the United States doesn't return to Reagan-esque type of ways? If the United States doesn't turn to its original core, who stands to make a boatload of money? Well, Hillary Clinton has already made a boatload of money off of doing stuff like that. Does she stand to make more? Oh, hell yeah. Look at it this way. Clinton is no matter what, Clinton is only going to be president for 4 years. So it's really important about who's going to be her running mate, because they could potentially, turn 16 years into 24. Yeah, can you imagine 24 straight years of Democratic rule? Oh my God, there would be no United States of America left. Oh. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. So it's not time to panic yet. I'll tell you when it's time, but it's not time yet. But if I'm only being half facetious about this, folks. But really, to bring it into perspective, the reality is that if Hillary, we don't have the luxury of allowing for a President Clinton for 4 years. We don't have the luxury of having 16 years, having the United States being rode by the rest of the world for 16 years. We don't have that luxury. 12 years, don't have that luxury. 16 years, don't have that luxury. 20, 24 years, don't have that luxury. No, God forbid if this woman goes for 2 terms. That's giving us 16 years of Obama. I think she'd still only be a 1-termer, but 12 years is enough. And then her Veep, if this is strong Veep, and she's not going to pick a weak Veep, that could put us, 20, up to 20 years. Do you realize this? Or more. Because then their Veep could get in for at least a term. So 24 years, this is something that has got to stop now. Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are the people that are stopping it. That are stopping this ride, or want to stop this riding of the United States. And that's the reason why somebody like this guy like these people down under, are saying it's a bad deal for Aussies, because it's not a bad deal for Aussies as a whole. It's just a bad deal for the liberals down in Aussie land, who are actually being handed their heads on platters anyway, because Aussies are going more conservative as well, as proof by their immigration policy, which is a zero tolerance on illegal immigration policy in Australia. But United States can't have that same kind of policy? That's bad for the rest of the world? How?
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500. And Get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614. To take your call now, call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge. Is some more information about this, about riding the U.S. pony to its death. The globalist. You know, when I talk about this stuff, folks, I don't know why people still doubt me. Yeah, you know, I got to admit, I'm still, when it comes to the realm of talk radio and talk internet, that kind of stuff, I'm still a little guy. But I have a big voice. And my voice, when I speak, I'm right. And this just came across my news feed, which means I didn't get a chance to look this up beforehand. So what I already said about riding the pony, I'm right about, because this was released just minutes ago, March 17th, 2016, on The Globalist. And, well, welcome back, folks. Hour number 3 here on the fastest 3 hours on Internet Talk Radio. Right here on the Rod Eccles Show. I am your lovable host, L. Rod. You can dial in 603-835-3224 if you want to speak to me about what we've been talking about so far this morning, weigh in on other things related to this. Do give me a call. But here is, and this is why I'm cutting. I'm sorry, I got kind of excited because here is a world-renowned publication who just agreed with me. Which means that all of you out there who are still doubting what I tell you, you can stop doubting now. The globalists. What I just told you about what's happening down in Aussie land, Australia? How about, this is not good for the liberal world, having a Donald Trump or possibly a Ted Cruz as president. Well, the globalist.com just laid out exactly why. And it's exactly what I have been telling you. And the real base of this particular piece basically states the problem with Donald Trump is not just within the United States, and it's not just the Donald. The Donald Trump is bringing to light, and to a lesser degree, Ted Cruz is bringing to light the frustration of the everyday person. And Donald Trump wants it to be the U.S. first again because he's been chastising countries like China and to a lesser degree Japan, especially on the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Pact trade thingy that would further devastate the U.S. economy. But, hey, China would make out like a bandit on that. Again, riding that U.S. pony. But there is this whole notion of worldwide that we're seeing worldwide. This whole notion of Donald Trump wants to tighten our borders. Well, it's not just a United States phenomenon. He wants to build the wall against Mexico, stop illegal immigration, stop certain types of Muslim immigration into this country. He's not alone. You're seeing Western Europe go through this right now as well. In fact, they're far more advanced on this than we are. You've got certain Western European countries that are starting to pay people to leave. We haven't gotten to that point yet. Sweden is paying people upwards of $70,000, the value of $70,000 US, to leave Sweden. You've got countries who are putting up fences like you would not believe left and right. Places like Romania along the border. There's a story here about Greece, the bankrupt country, in danger of being this immigrant prison, refugee prison. Because countries along the Greece border, are closing off their borders and not letting these migrants through. They call them migrants, these refugees through. They're cutting them off. They're being trapped in Greece. Greece sure as hell doesn't want them because Greece knows they can't afford them, for one. Two, they don't want the risk. Greece always thought, well, hey, we'll make a little bit of money by letting them pass straight through. They're going straight through. They're not staying here, so that's good. So we'll just. But now they're being trapped in Greece, and Greece is like, uh-oh, we made a mistake. Yeah, you did. But the socio-economic transformation is happening in the West. And part of the fear, the Australian fear, is that type of mentality could take hold in Asia. Well, frankly, it's too late because it already has. Now, Asia obviously doesn't have the same issue with refugee problems and illegal immigration, basically that the West has, because after all, who wants to break into China? Really? Who wants to get into Vietnam illegally? It's a little bit more difficult to get into South Korea and Japan illegally. But I don't see any Japanese wanting to get into. It's kind of like I don't see any Americans trying to get into, to live. I don't see Americans trying to get into Mexico illegally to live. They might cross the border for nefarious reasons, but they're not trying to go there for a better life. That's for sure. And by that token, you're not seeing South Koreans trying to get into North Korea or China for a better life, and you're not seeing the Japanese trying to break into China illegally for a better life or go to Vietnam or someplace. It just is not happening. But economically speaking and politically speaking, there are rumblings in the East. And quite frankly, that could really rival. If anything, it if the East, like China and its allies, were decide to rise up, their governments were decide to rise up and take on the West, it would be because the West is influencing the people so much that the people are... Look, we had Tiananmen Square. Remember that? Oh, trust me. If you go back to that day of Tiananmen Square... Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. I'm talking too fast. If you go back to the time, remember the picture of the single student or man standing in front of the People's Army tank, and the tank, in restraint, didn't run the guy down. Tried to go around him. Well, what did the guy do? You saw the video. The guy kept stepping in front of the tank. Well, let me tell you something. That scared the heebie-jeebies. Well, there's that word again, my new favorite word, heebie-jeebies. That scared the heebie-jeebies out of the Chi-Coms. And they went into this full-fledged and full... Nobody knows what happened to that guy, by the way. Nobody knows what... There are people that say that they know who it was, but they don't know what happened to him. I tell you what happened to him. He's now 6 feet under somewhere in China. Because the Chi-Coms went into full crackdown mode on that, because they understood back then that they could not allow this type of discord to take hold. And let me tell you, it's getting to the point where the Chi-Coms are trying their damnedest to close off their people, while trying to expand their global power, economic power, but at the same time they're trying to keep their people in the dark. It's not working very well. That's why they're trying to keep a clamp on the internet. That's why they don't like Google in China. That's why they developed. Trust me, that's why they developed their own Facebook. The Chi-Coms don't like Facebook or Twitter, so they made their own Facebook and Twitter. You got 1.3 billion people. That's a pretty good model to do that with. And to a certain degree, some of their allies, like North Korea, gets to tap into the Chinese Facebook. But this whole notion that this type of attitude, not necessarily anti-globalist. Americans in general don't mind being a part of the global community. We like it. We do like to travel. We like to bring people from different cultures here because we like to experience those different cultures, especially in our food. If you don't think so, if you think Americans are really that racist, then how is it that we have so many different, very successful ethnic, we're so diverse in our food choices, ethnically? Mexican. Mexican is the new Italian in the States right now. It is. And I know Chipotle is still going through some terrible troubles, but you get Mexican food, Chinese food. Again, Chinese foods are now, basically a Dunkin' Donuts. There's a Chinese restaurant in just about every municipality in this country. We got so many Chinese restaurants now that the Chinese, that Asian immigrants can't come here and go into the Chinese food restaurant business anymore. So they're spreading out into nails and doing those fake nails and stuff and other businesses. Hell, you go into the mall sometime. Was the mall in New Hampshire? It was Pheasant Lane Mall down in Nashua. Yeah, it's a relatively small food court. It's not a huge mall. A relatively small food court. You may have, I think it was like 7 or 8 restaurants in food court. 3 of them were Chinese with a Japanese. Then you're thinking, how is that possible? Well, one was, Panda, Chinese food. Another was a Sakura, it was Japanese fare. And then you had these 2 other Chinese restaurants in there that didn't have, they weren't Chinese named. One was Cajun Kitchen. Now, what do you think when you hear Cajun Kitchen? You think Cajun Kitchen, Louisiana, Cajun food. No, you walk over there, and all it is Chinese food. So they're getting creative by utilizing these different names that give you a whole different persona of what it's about. Then you get in there and it's like, okay, you think you're going to get some gumbo or something, right? And no, it's Szechuan chicken and orange chicken and Kung Pao and all that kind of, like, wait a minute. That's the exact same thing that's offered next door to Panda. But look, we are not a racist nation. We love different ethnic backgrounds and ethnic groups. We just don't like it when an ethnic group comes here and tries to take over our economy, our way of life, our thinking, our laws. We don't like that very much, and nobody does. Look, try going to a foreign country and trying to Americanize that country with that country's whole persona of what they believe that they are. Try to Americanize them and see if they don't, if there is any backlash. So why is it okay for the French to protect their culture? And why is it okay for the Vietnamese to protect their culture and the Japanese to protect their culture, but it's not okay for the United States to protect our culture? It makes no sense. Again, it's this whole notion that the rest of the liberal world wants to ride the American pony. And they think that they're on a merry-go-round. But the truth is, we're a pony express pony. We're going to die if we don't get them off our backs. China fully understands that. Europe is coming to realize that. We're the only dolts that don't seem to get it. And we're listening to all these talking heads out there keep telling us that, no, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you shouldn't do that. That's not what you're all about. Yeah, it is what we're all about. We're about America, Americanism, American culture. American culture is unique because we can actually borrow and take from all kinds of cultures all across the planet and uniquely combine it and make it our own. Plain and simple. So we have the globalist publication here saying that the greatest geopolitical risk in the world today is the possibility of a Trump administration. That's a risk. Yeah, it is a risk. And it's a risk exactly for the reasons I just told you. And they actually make that case, even though they don't think they did. Now they're using the example from building the wall along the Mexican border to barring Muslims entry into the United States, demanding more money for U.S. military operations from foreign governments, because, look, half of Europe doesn't really pay their full share of their own protection. We do. His proposals would lead to an about-face in Washington's relations with the world. Yeah, because, this current administration has been handing away the cookie, all the candy in the candy store. But they go on to say it would be folly to dismiss Donald Trump's ire against the international community as off-the-cuff alarmist rantings. His message has resonated so widely across the United States. The reason why his message has struck such a chord, the globalist says, with a large swath of the American electorate is deep-seated frustration with the current political system. What's more, fear about the risk of international trade, globalization, and increasingly stratified society are not unique to the United States, even though you have a bunch of people in this country saying that this is just a United States problem. Here is a very liberal publication, The Globalist, saying that this is not unique to the United States. Thus, it concludes, this current Trump phenomenon in the United States could easily go global. That is the reason, as I have always told you, is the fear, even far down under in Australia, is the fear of the rest of the world. Is that this frustration, this anger that is in the United States could easily spread around the globe. And indeed, it already is. Now, Trump has repeatedly argued that under the existing trade rules, the United States has been taken advantage of. Ride that American pony. He believed that Washington should take back the concessions it has given to foreign competitors. Japan and China in particular, have come under attack from Trump as the biggest economic threats to the United States. Again, I have always said that. Look, there are 1.2, 1.3 billion people. The numbers just logically say that at some point, either by hook by crook, that China was going to have the world's largest economy. You see, 1.3 billion. They've got 1 billion more people than the United States does. At some point, just by the sheer numbers of the people, if China comes into the first world and becomes and gets into the 21st century, it's inevitable that they're going to be by far the world's largest economy. It's inevitable. Doesn't mean that they should have the world economy and that they should be they're going to be the world economic leader. They're probably not, simply because of their political structure. Now think of this for a second. And this is probably going to shake people to their core. But if China were to ever somehow, some way, to go full-on democracy, a true democracy, get rid of this one-party rule type of communist thinking, China could rule the world. Do folks realize that? You got 1.3 billion people who should have the world's largest economy and end up with a free market and a free government. I would love to see that happen, actually. If China went full democracy, you wouldn't have to worry about the old Soviet Union and Putin raising its head, or any little tyrant dictators around the globe, like Kim Jong-un or Il, whatever his freaking name is up there in North Korea. The United States and China would definitely set in a new global entity and global empire like the world has never seen. At that particular point, if China ever went to... This is what you people have to understand. And this is why all of you peace-loving peaceniks out there should also be paying attention to this. You should be on board with trying to make China a full-on, full-fledged democracy, both economically and politically, and thirdly, socially. If that happened, folks, we could get to the point of one world government and the world being like Star Trek. Do you realize that? It's going to take China. It is going to take China for that to happen. Because as long as China remains an adversary to freedom, politically, socially, and economically, you're never going to have world peace. Do you realize that? You're never going to have world peace. If the United States goes socialist or communist, you're never going to have world peace. You're not. The only time there's going to be hope for actual, real world peace is if China goes full-on democracy. Freedom. If freedom breaks out in China, that's it for tyrants all over the world. That's it. As long as China stands, you're going to have tyrants. And you're not going to have world peace. The globalist goes on saying it's easy enough to dismiss Trump's argument as being outdated. After all, while the U.S. trade deficit with Japan peaked in the 90s, the issue now is too much more about the exchange rate rather than the actual flow of goods and services. Because it's not Japan. We've already said that. It's not Japan anymore. It's China. There's a trade imbalance with China. Plain and simple. Asia has very large swaths of populations that are currently unable to benefit from the fruits of interconnected global economy. Again, because China isn't a fully free society. If it were, all those barriers would fall. Because China has influence in a number of Asian countries. And if China says, the best way to go is to be a free society, all those closed societies, including the likes of Vietnam, who's already trying to open their doors to the world economy a little bit, would be forced to buckle. They wouldn't be able to withstand the tide of freedom sweeping across Asia. China is the cornerstone. They're the key. Really is, folks. Now, while an unprecedented number of Chinese tourists have flocked overseas to shop at some of the world's toniest stores, and Chinese investors are key players in global markets, the divide between those who are accumulating wealth and those barely scraping by continues to widen rapidly in China. So at some point, there's going to have to be a revolution, right? But not the kind of revolution that you think. So basically, if you go through this article, I'll put a link. All the globalists is talking about, whether they realize it or not, is that Trump is a catalyst for something that the rest of the world who wants to be able to control people and make money off of people, they can't do that if Trump gets his way. Do you realize that? You people who want world, this economic freedom and equality and stuff, Trump is your way to get there. Believe it or not, Trump is the way to get there. Not the way Chinese are currently doing it. Just not going to work.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, franzblack.com. Franz black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Six 603-835-3224 is the number to call should you wish to join me here live here on the Rod Eccles Show. It is a wonderful sunny Thursday morning. I think they were talking about, I think I saw something last night. I don't know if it was a joke or not. I didn't really, it was late. Talking about a winter storm blowing through town and dumping as much as a foot and a half of snow in certain parts of New England. I was about ready to fall asleep. I don't know if it was a joke or something that they repeated from last year or something. People tend to do that. Hey, look, folks, it's not, summer's not around the corner. We're going to get this, and it's a joke. Ha 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 ha. They did that last year at first, and then be careful what you joke about because it started to come true. People weren't joking about it anymore. After about the end of January, people in New England weren't posting these joke weather forecasts anymore. It was like every time they posted a joke forecast, it seemed like it became reality. I think people probably caught on. Karma, as they call it. Speaking of karma, this is from express.co.uk. And look, this program is not just about politics, by the way. Sure, it's about politics, but it's also about pop culture and current events. Current events. So, because I have broad interest, and I hope to impart some of my interest and knowledge. And my knowledge is not vast by any means. It is. I would say that it's formidable. My knowledge. But I wouldn't go so far as to say it's vast. I'm not going to give myself that much credit. I will say it's formidable because I try to keep myself informed over a variety of topics because I have an interest in all kinds of stuff. I mean, some stuff is just inane and stupid. Yeah, it's just, I just find it fascinating. But some stuff really does have some... at first, you may not think it does, but it does end up having some sort of geopolitical, geoeconomic type of scenario attached to it, which fits right in with this program. This is one of those stories. It's one of those things that another one of those possibilities of life imitating art. You know how we often say art imitates life, but it's also true that life imitates art. Look, the whole notion with the House of Cards thing, it looks like although it's a House of Cards, it was all about the Democrats, the Democrat Party. But it looks like what's happening in House of Cards for the Democrat Party is happening in real life in the Republican Party. So again, it would be life imitating art in this particular scenario, because all of this stuff for House of Cards was written last year before all this stuff started to take place. It was written in film way before all of this stuff really took place, on the little screen. But here's something else that took place on the big screen. And it was widely accepted on the big screen. And you had very few people asking, well, what if this actually happened in real life? And people kept poo-pooing it, saying, we're nowhere near any of that kind of stuff. Remember when the first Jurassic Park movie came out? It scared people half to death to think that could be a reality. And of course, scientists were telling us, and geneticists and all that kind of stuff were telling us, that's not going to, there's too many holes in the genome. We haven't even figured out all the DNA code yet, and, string and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden we mapped the entire human DNA genome. And we started and we figured out how to do that. So it took us a while to do that. Well, first of all, because the human DNA string is extremely complicated. But we were able to figure it out and map it. Now, we don't know what it all means, but we're able to map it. And by figuring that out, we were able to figure out all kinds of other DNA strings that were less complicated than human DNA, a lot quicker and a lot easier. And so now we're starting to tackle other types of DNA strings that are not so easy, and indeed might even have been, might be extinct from species that might be extinct. So we have to try to fill in the gaps based on all the other DNA strings that we've been mapping. And so we're getting closer and closer. And here in the Express, which is a British publication, has this startling headline. And it's startling because people remember the Jurassic Park movies. And you have to understand that if you think you're smarter than the people who write the fiction, if you think factually that you're smarter than people who write fiction, you've got another thing coming, because we have shown throughout the history of man that we are not smarter than our imaginations. That we seem to often repeat the same mistakes, especially now in the last a century or so. We seem to be doing and repeating what happens in fiction on film in reality. Well, it looks like we might be taking another step towards that mistake again. Now, no, I don't think that we're not going to be creating a Godzilla or finding a King Kong, but we could be coming close. Imagine, if you will, the scientists are figuring out all the DNA from different species, and they're figuring out how to, and we're doing this, plants especially. We're creating these Franken plants. A lot of people call it Frankenfood. People don't want, genetically modified GMO food, genetically modified organism food. People don't want it. They're calling it Frankenfood. And we're finding out that some of this approved Frankenfood is actually not good for human consumption. We're finding this out. No, we were originally told, oh, no, it's no problem. This is genetics. It's perfectly fine. It's just like what they used to do when they used to, do man assisted natural selection. It's just like that. Well, it's not just like that, and we found that out. But now comes this startling headline: scientists closer to cloning Tyrannosaurus Rex after discovering the remains of a pregnant dinosaur. Now, folks, up until this point, what we've had dinosaur eggs that we found, but now we're finding pregnant dinosaurs. That's helping to fill in some of those holes and those gaps, by the way. So It's happening, folks. Oh, let's take another call here. We got 925. You're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got?
Oh, hi, Rod. You've got just a plethora of topics today, but what I found interesting, you were talking about this Zeus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes.
And I think you're absolutely right. When you said it, I'm like, what's that? You said probably the majority of people don't know. So that was very interesting to me because my question or thought process today for you discussing Donald Trump was back to the whole, if you look at the landscape of voters, I think there's just several different categories that have transpired over the years, people that just don't care. The apathy's just been like, well, my vote doesn't matter and it's terrible. So we have those people. So they just stop voting. And then we obviously have the people that are gung-ho. You've got your Democrats really don't seem to lose hope. They're pounding on doors. Like I think you said the other day, I don't really see Trump supporters, but I see Bernie Sanders supporters. So I don't know. There's just this whole thing. And also I think ignorance plays another part where I look back at myself as a kid who really teaches us about politics unless your family's political. I had military family, which I felt was my, your duty to vote, which is great. But now I'm 18 years old. I go to the polls and I say, okay, well, this is who I think I want for president. I'm not really sure why, but this is what I think I should do. And I was told that if you vote Democrat back then, that was for the blue-collar worker. I didn't even know what that meant. So I'm like, well, I guess that's good. I think the Democrats of that day were different than today. But so anyway, I guess my point was is the ignorance that plays out in the whole political thing. My eyes are wide open because being involved because of Trump, I am learning things that are just mind-boggling. Like today I said to myself, well, what happens to the delegates, for the people that drop out? So I find myself, I'm always having to look something up. Well, I guess they're called zombie delegates. I mean, who really knows that? I didn't. So I think there's that element. People go and vote, and they don't really know. Even your local people. I'm new to Texas, so I was so concerned about the president. I went in the booth and I said, oh, my gosh, who are all these local people? I didn't take the time to learn. And then people don't have time. They work all day.
They always
kids
use
both
that
have
excuse.
to work, come home, turn on the TV, listen to, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, people always say that they don't have
and then they listen to Fox News or CNN. They don't have time, and I get that. I was there, exhausted, 2 kids, and you come home, but so we have all this, and now all of a sudden we have, Trump is loud. He's overbearing in some ways. I never really cared for him. I never watched the show. It was kind of a joke when he came out. But I said, okay, I'm looking at Rubio. I'm looking at Cruz. I don't know these people. But I need to get involved. I need to vote, right? Because I want to do that. That's my civil duty, right? So people will do that, and they feel so proud, and they put their sticker on and say, I voted. But do you know what you voted for? And so when I think about a good friend that says, I can't believe Trump won. And she's like, I voted for Kasich. And I'm like, well, do you know anything about him? Do you realize that NAFTA was, again, who knows? She didn't know about NAFTA. So it's just interesting that Trump is really, because of his loud mouth, because he's now saying things we've thought, but we haven't been able to say it for PC reasons. And the quiet people that didn't care, all of a sudden their ears are perking up going, oh my gosh, that's what I want to say. And I think that's part of it. I think, and of course we know that the media hates him. And I think when we say they're afraid of him, I seriously think there's so much dirt, there's so much stuff to be unearthed that they don't want him, period, because he's going to rattle all the cages. I just really believe that.
Yeah.
But anyways,
that has to do with the whole false notion that ignorance is bliss. Folks, let's be honest about ignorance. Ignorance is very, very expensive. People think that they're tired now, and they don't have time. Well, why is that? Because they tuned out over the decades. They've been tuning out. And because they've tuned out, they've allowed these people in the shadows to operate more freely. And they've made life even more difficult, causing people to need to work even harder and longer to be even more exhausted. So this whole idea that ignorance is bliss is not bliss. It's hell on earth, and it's costing us a ton of money, as well as our time.
Exactly.
So when people don't, like you said, when people don't understand, they walk into the booth and they possibly pull the lever for or put that check mark next to somebody because they heard his name in a positive light on some TV news or they read about it in the newspaper or something. Oh, okay, I don't know much about him, but everybody else seems to think that he's okay, so he must be okay. When the reality is that's probably not the truth at all. It's just who's ever gotten the most press, and we've had, I kind of cringe when you say CNN, but CNN may not have a lot of viewers.
I don't watch them. Yeah, I don't watch them.
CNN used to be at one point, and I know some people today may not believe this, but CNN used to be the number one watched news program on the planet. Think of the kind of influence that had on people. CNN. And so now we're moving towards, Fox has a big audience, and the big three still have a fairly large ABC, CBS, NBC. They still have a large audience. CNN and MSNBC have been kind of relegated to second class now, but the other four still wield tremendous influence.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's all people watch, if that's that's the only place they're getting their information, which is slowly changing, but still. People aren't taking the time to learn stuff on their own. I mean, they can come to this program and listen, and I'll espouse certain things that they may not have heard before, but then that's where a lot of people stop. And what I encourage people to do is go look stuff up for themselves, find out more about it. Just don't take my word for it.
And and I appreciate your the other thing that's very tiring is even the conservative radio hosts now. I'm tired of your opinion. Okay, I understand we all have one, but don't tell me how I should think. And you're going to tell me I'm ignorant because I'm this, or we've all heard about the Becks. I can't listen to any of them. I just shut them all off and I stream things because I can't take that in your face, stuff. And he's just totally derailed, I guess. But we need to think for ourselves. But like you said, do we turn on the radio? How do we get our source? But I'm just amazed at what I have learned. And I'm going to say I was an ignorant voter, and I just didn't even know how. And I'm thinking maybe in high school we should have like instead of U.S. government, which was like mandatory and everybody hated it, was boring and dry. Maybe we should have like a real political class where kids have to run for make this a whole semester, right? And even have kids go out. I had no clue when I was a kid. I seriously, when I went in the booth at 18, I said, "Oh, there's a woman running? How cool is that? I voted for her." I mean, that's like saying I gave my vote to Hillary. I mean, it's just horrible. But I'm admitting it, saying, "Oh, but I came out and said I voted." So that was somehow like, great, I'm a model citizen because I voted. But there's just so much more. There's so much more. And when you said that this morning, and then when I woke up and said Trump won the Marianas, I'm like, really? When did that happen? Like, what is that? So it's just crazy. But there's too much that's wrong with the media now, and 24/7 media. I think they're just trying to fill airspace, but we just are so misinformed, and I think the media is extremely corrupt. And that reading about who's the elites at CNN and Fox. These are people that are like in bed with Hillary and the DC people. So obviously they're going to be liberal and spin everything. And it's like, so, but I think what's coming up with Trump is just this. It's those of us, the dormant people or the ignorant people, or the people who just thought, what difference does it make, right? My vote doesn't matter. And Trump is so loud and in your face. He's saying people it does. And the media lies. And he's saying things like everybody said that we already knew, but we just stopped. We just got complacent and we just stopped. And so that's this voice now. And I he's not perfect. He's not God. He's not a prophet called from God. That was my problem with Cruz, by the way. But I was trying to find out Cruz or Rubio. And I did. I started doing my homework. I started listening. What did they vote for? Did they vote? Did they even show up to vote? No. So that, and Trump just trumped those two for me. And I sincerely hope people will give him a chance. I thought to myself, when you vote for someone, same thing every time, they get in, they don't do what they're supposed to do, they go to D.C., they have a party, they get rich, and then we all gripe. And then guess what? We do it again. So I think this is like one chance for this guy that's getting royally beat up at his own expense. Let's just give him 4 years. If he sucks, excuse my French, don't vote him in again. But let's try something different. That's my spiel for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking the way you're thinking right now. You know, we've already gone down this road with all these, so-called professional politicians for years and years, and nothing has changed. In fact, in some ways, things have gotten worse with these same people. So let's try somebody different. Well, who's new and different out there? Well,
right.
You got people like Cruz, you got people like Trump, and on the left, you got somebody like Bernie Sanders, and people are saying, let's give these guys a shot.
Crazy, isn't it? We actually can look at Bernie and think that that's a good alternative. I guess if I was a Democrat, I'd pick him over over Hillary. But it's just crazy what really goes on in Washington. We're clueless. I think we're really clueless. And when I listen, again, you got to try to find people that you think are credible. So obviously, I think your show's good. I just recently. On both sides. So he's I like that back and forth. He's not just, for one thing or because he's a Democrat. But listening to the things as an insider, the last two programs I did here on InfoWars with him, pretty much everything came to fruition on that. Everything. He said Romney was going to come out. I'm like, what? And then he said, the Soros backers were raising millions to back Rubio, and if he loses Florida, he's done. I'm like, oh, so I'm like, wow. So I kind of stay tuned to him because it's very interesting to see what he said. He goes, look, I got a lot of people on the inside and they're willing to talk. And that's kind of a good thing for those of us that, don't really know what's going on there.
You mentioned InfoWars, and I have referenced them a number of times in this program. And I got to tell you, when he first started out, he was considered and construed to be one of those conspiracy theory tinfoil nut jobs. And he did go down that road a little bit, but
he's a little wild. Yeah,
he switched and he's become a real inside. If you want to call somebody an insider, you could say that this guy has got the track on the inside. And you're right, a lot of the stuff that he's talked about has come to pass. And this is the type of thing that people need to understand, and this is the type of information that people need to get. And I thank you for tuning in and listening to me now.
Yes.
I hope I'm going down that same path that he took and giving people an inside look at everything. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I throw my own little opinion in there.
No, and you're perfectly entitled to that. But it's when you get it to the nth degree that right. You know what I'm saying? You obviously it's great to hear the information factually presented, and you're obviously entitled to your opinion. But it's when you really you know what I'm saying. It's just they're telling you how you should think, and that we're stupid.
I would definitely not want people to think like me. And that would be kind of awful.
That could be scary, right?
Yeah, that'd be awful scary.
Yeah. Well, it's refreshing, and I hope you continue down that path because we really need it. We just need we need the news. That's what it should be. Tell us what's going on, but don't change it.
Exactly.
Don't spin it. Don't make it something that it's not, and then sensationalize it. And oh my gosh, it's just crazy. But people lap it up. So until people start tuning out like the Foxes and until they stop and the ratings go down, it's going to continue. That's what, if people want it, that's what you get.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
Unfortunately, right. So, thank you.
I do thank you for listening, and even more so, thank you for calling in. Great call.
All right. Well, great day. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Hey, when a caller's right, a caller's right. I always like to look for things that are right, truth, logical. And, look, people have to, she's typical. She's not any different from most people. And that's been typical for quite some time now. And it really, it's no different. This has been the case since time memorial. The people just, they're too busy trying to live their life to pay attention to a lot of this other stuff. But unfortunately, when you don't pay attention, you suffer the consequences. And I think the American people have suffered a lot for their ignorance. And we're going to continue to suffer for that ignorance until we get to the point where we've actually truly had enough of being ignorant. And we do start teaching ourselves and then teaching our little ones the reality and logic and truth. Yeah, that's just the way the world works, folks. But, but with that, when you start to understand what things that happen logically, you start learning from different aspects and getting information from different places. You can start predicting what's going to happen with uncanny accuracy. And that's all I try to do. I just try to get the information out to you. And at the same time, I'll throw in a little bit of my own personality and belief and opinion. And I might even throw in some predictions based on all that fact and based on logic. And lo and behold, more often than not, way more often than not, other people prove me right. I don't have to prove me right. That's not what I'm here for. I just try to, the logic and information that I dish out, as it were, comes back to be proven correct. I'm proud of the fact that I'm almost always right. Not because I'm some genius, but simply because I just pay attention and I take the time to learn just a few facts. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is dangerous. It's dangerously powerful, which is why you have so many people in the political and economic elite who want to keep you ignorant. Because they think ignorance is bliss. Well, it's bliss for them, but it's hell for the rest of us. It really is. Which is why you have so many people that, around the globe now who are starting to weigh in on Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is waking people up. He's giving people knowledge and telling people to go out and get some knowledge to fully understand what's going on out there. Anyway, well, that sound kind of means that we're kind of out of time for today. 3 hours just flew by this morning. Unbelievable. Hey, pay attention to those dinosaurs, because, the pregnant dinosaur, it reveals a lot more of the missing DNA that we have that they could bring forth. We'll be back here tomorrow. That's it for us for today only. Free for all Friday. Freedom Friday. Yes, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm Rod Eccles. I'm getting tongue-tied. Have a wonderful day, folks. See you tomorrow. I'm out.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every
the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today.